Sonic Adventure 2 was one of the biggest hits of its time, being one of the main reasons people bought the Sega Dreamcast. It defined an era of not just Sonic, but the shift from 2D to 3D gaming. Although it had great graphics for its time, that isn't what made the game as notorious as it is. The story, attention to detail, mechanics, and depth into characters turned this game into an unforgettable experience. This wasn't a game about Sonic, it was way more complex than that. Every character has an equal role to be played in the grand scheme of the game, which makes this experience much more immersive than most games in the modern generation. Take Suicide Squad for instance. Although there are multiple characters in the game, they aren't necessary to play as to beat the game. They're really just extra options. In SA2, you need to play as every character and either race through levels, find broken pieces of the Master Emerald, or man an armored mech to contribute to the story in different areas. This, however, was one of the only times we had to see something like this, the other time being Sonic Adventure 1 obviously. As time went on, things didn't necessarily get better. That's what we're going to be discussing today. My name is Expendable, and today I'm going to be talking about the rise, fall, and rise again of Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I'm not saying that everything went up in flames immediately after Sonic Adventure 2. A lot of things immediately after the release of SA2 were great in their own ways. Sonic Heroes, Sonic 06, and Unleashed, in my opinion, were all amazing games that were unique in their own ways. I'm not gonna hate on Sonic 06, although a lot of people did dislike it. The story was pretty okay in my opinion. My only complaint is the design of Eggman. Like, that's just not right, come on. I think after Sonic Unleashed, things started to become more half-baked, creating a stereotype that Sonic games are just Sonic going on about foiling Eggman's plans with Tails there, but not really doing anything too important where you'd actually care. That trend persisted with Sonic Colors, Lost World, and Forces. Generations was a strange case, because it really was just a large collection of nostalgic Sonic levels with the addition of the Time Eater, an antagonist that I personally think is one of the many that didn't get enough attention. Characters like Mephiles, the Time Eater, and Infinite had so much potential to be persistent characters or serve a greater threat, but they seem like a potential thrown away instead. This could be compensation for Sega making games fit for a younger audience, but I personally believe the franchise peaked when some darkness was allowed to creep into the story. Say all you want about 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog, but that game went hard. Anyways, around the release of Sonic Forces, Sega started to play around with 2D games again, like Sonic Mania, which was an absolute hit, but I think that they got a little too trigger happy later down the years. Games like Sonic Forces and Sonic Superstars felt like filler games just to collect a little bit more money while the next big Sonic game was in production. Games like Sonic Forces Speed Battle released and Sonic Speed Simulator on Roblox where the only ways to properly progress were with microtransactions. This really demonstrated Sega's shift from storytelling to just throwing out content. This wasn't so much of a gradual shift to this state, I would say it only begun happening recently. This period of time was short-lived though. Sega caught themselves and started kicking out bangers again real shortly. A major shift in Sonic occurred with the release of Sonic Frontiers in 2022, which displayed not only a less linear story, but for the first time, a fully free-roam game style with multiple environments to explore. This shift in style of gameplay demonstrated Sega's shift back to creating unique gameplay specific to the game and a story that goes into depth on more than just Sonic. Throughout the story, side quests are put in place that revolve around the development of Amy, Tails, and Knuckles and establishes their individuality apart from Sonic, obviously setting up future games that will be focused on them. This was and still is one of the best modern Sonic games, due to the amount of detail put into just one installment. This is the old Sega that actually made their games with good thought and effort. Comparing this to Sonic Forces, a game that takes 2 hours to complete and throws away the antagonist in a matter of seconds, almost makes it feel like it was entirely a different company that made the game. As much as I love Sega, and as much as I love Sonic, it's safe to say that around 2017 to 2021 wasn't the best set of years for the company and Sonic. Now in the recent 2 years, Sega and Sonic Team has been really upping their game, sacrificing time for installments with greater attention to detail and things that reward the viewer or player. But more importantly, the old stories from adventure games are re-emerging themselves into the modern world, most notably with the recent Sonic X Shadow Generations and the Sonic 3 movie. Gun is an organization that actually matters again. The origin of Shadow the Hedgehog is being told to newer generations and in a new light to older fans, and more depth is being added to those origins. As more people learn the true past of Sonic the Hedgehog, it seems like life is finally returning to the character, and it becomes far easier to enjoy the content given to us by Sonic Team. Even with the movie, with things that the trailers show, it's clear that this will be a pretty close retelling to the events of Sonic Adventure 2, which I heavily applaud. For the first time in years, it looks like Sonic is being brought back to his former glory, with content focusing back to his origins to start off a process that will hopefully lead to new adventures for Sonic and, just as importantly, his friends. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I've also heard around that the next Sonic installment might be a remaster for Sonic Heroes, which is fantastic, for that's leading right into more of Sonic's greatest stories, revitalized for the new generations to experience for themselves. I myself have not gotten to experience all the Sonic games from the 90s to 2000s era, Sonic Heroes being one of those games I missed out on. I feel like with the way things are going, Sonic is bound to reach new heights of popularity, and along with that, more memories in the minds of people both young and not so young. With the way things are going, I've never been so proud to be a Sonic fan. That's it for today's video. I thank you for staying all the way to the end. If you enjoyed, consider dropping a like and maybe even a sub if you want to. I have some trouble with ideas from time to time too, so if you want me to talk about anything in particular, leave a comment down below for me, and I'll probably check that out immediately. Besides that, that's it for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and Sonic Squad, peace out.